So they're back to 500 again.
Yes, they are. Another perfect title to this pod tonight.
Nope, not doing it. Not doing it again. Because you know what happened the
Oh,
last time I named both those episodes back to 500?
that's a fair point.
It dipped back down.
That's a good point. We got to do our part.
They say the sequel's never better than the original. Well, the third installment is usually worse than both. So no thanks. I'm not messing with those powers.
Yep. Yep. You can thank us when we sweep the weekend here.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Sabre Roundtable. My name is Jonah.
Now, JP.
And as always, we will be talking to you about all things Buffalo Sabres hockey and even a little bit of the wider NHL. No Christian today. It is just JP and I coming at you to recap a pretty monumental win by the Buffalo Sabres over the LA Kings. Spoiler alert, they were without Tage Thompson and Jordan Greenway in this game, and yet they were able to pull out a victory. We'll talk a little bit about the Rochester Americans, most notably of all, Devon Levi making his return to Rochester. And then we'll finish with some NHL news highlighted by a pretty big coach firing, which I'm kind of upset that Christian will not be here to talk about. So, jumping right into things. The Sabres starting off their West Coast trip in California with the toughest game of all, the Los Angeles Kings, who have been one of the better teams in the NHL this season. And it, first of all, the game went very akin to opening night a month back, just kind of in the reverse. Either way, it was two teams that just could not find the back of the net for the life of them, and the game-winning goal eventually being a power play goal in both of those games. But the Sabres pulling out this one, a 1-0 win. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen with a huge shutout in his return after sitting out these past few games injured. Just a pretty big win for a team that needs to survive until they get healthy again.
Yeah, I mean, who are these guys? They won a 1-0 hockey game. They got a shutout out of their goaltending. Their game-winning goal was a power play goal. They won a low event game. Like, this isn't the Sabres that I grew to love these last few years, but I guess I'll take it. I guess I'll take it. It was tough not to fall asleep watching the game at midnight when there was, no shots in like 5 minutes of play at one point. It was not one of the most fun game to watch.
A 10:30 start time on a Wednesday night, rooting for a below 500 Sabres team. This is where the real fans
And
are made.
that's where the sickos go. I was surprised Christian actually stayed up for the whole thing.
I
He
think he
like
was I think he was in and out.
I was gonna say he didn't text for a while, so I figured he fell asleep, and then all of a sudden we got text once the game was over.
You can always tell when he's watching a game, and I think this
That
one you
is
could
true.
tell he was watching with, if he was watching, it was with like one eye open and the other
Yeah.
eye crashed on his couch.
Yeah. And even if he did fall asleep, he really didn't miss anything.
No,
So,
he really did not. Nothing happened. This was a hockey game that happened. So,
yes.
but you know what? Hockey games like this happen, and more often than not, it feels like that the Sabres are the team that come out on the losing end. So to get out of Los Angeles, their toughest game of the road trip, with a win, it it sets them up very, very well for the rest of this road trip. And they need this. They need a sweep. They absolutely need a sweep. They need to get out of this. Now that they've beaten the Kings, they need to get out of this road trip above 500, especially if Tage Thompson is back. Like, if they get healthy again, I know there's a back-to-back in here, but for me, there's really no excuse. It's two basement dwellers, and you just need to find a way.
Yeah, you just had a very low event game. Only one goal. So let's do the opposite of that these next two games. Let's get the offense going. Let's, maybe get more than 24 shots on goal or 19 shots on goal, whatever we had. Like let's try and put some pucks in the back of the net. Let's not have this be a nail biter the whole time. Um, but yeah, I mean they have to take two of three. I mean all of them. But the one thing that is of note, Anaheim and the Sharks have been playing a little better recently. I think one of the two have won four of the last five, and they've both been playing better. So these aren't going to be cakewalks. So we better not hear after the game. We took them lightly. Yeah, the 500 team took them lightly.
We got humbled.
Yeah, we got humbled. So I don't want to hear that again. But no, you're right. That this was a big win. A win. I feel like we've said this a few times this year, actually, that this is usually not a win that the Sabres would. This is usually not a game the Sabres would win, but it's encouraging.
Yeah, obviously you can't. There's not a ton of positives to take out of this game other than Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the power play coming through, and just winning the hockey game. There's really not a lot to take out of it. The first period they played well, but the
Hmm.
last two periods they really kind of parked the bus. LA kind of had them figured out offensively, but I spent for anybody that listened to the last episode. Obviously, it was a very down and in the dumps episode, and I'm sticking true to what I was saying. A lot of what we said last episode was true, at least in my opinion. But like I said, like they're freaking like, dude, they're in a playoff spot right now. I mean, by the end of the night, they won't be. I don't think. I mean, right now they're tied with the New York Islanders, and I think they're beating Detroit and Ottawa. If they beat Vegas tonight, then they'll overtake. You get the point. But basically, the Sabres are 9-9-1, and they're in the second wild card spot. And it's not like they're still like teams are still catching up from the Prague series. No, every team, the from the second wild card and below, every team is 500 or worse. The Eastern Conference stinks this year. It's terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, this has to be the year we do it. If this lasts through the
We
whole
thought last year
season,
was the year. We saw what the Capitals did,
yeah,
and the Red Wings being right on the edge of making it last year. We thought last year was like, oh man, like how do you not at least like be one of the final teams to make it? And here we are. The conference looks even worse.
yeah. I mean, you win these next two games, and you're gonna have a lead. You might not even be in a wild card two spot. I mean, the Eastern Conference is just no one. No one in that wild card race has done anything to prove that they're a playoff team yet.
No, and they're even. I think Tampa has another two games on the Sabres, but the Sabres are only 2 points out of third place in their division. Like it just takes one big, uh, not even a winning streak, just a point streak here with a lot of wins sprinkled throughout, and all of a sudden they're in the driver's seat for the rest of the season. I think
One
it's
good
really going to
West
come.
Coast trip, legit. That's it.
Really, I think that's really been the story of these past few seasons where, maybe not so much last year, but I think the season before, like the Sabres were chasing and chasing and chasing. They had all those games in hand 2 years ago, and they've never defended a playoff spot. And I think right now, like you have the opportunity. If you win these next two games, chances are you're going to be in a playoff spot by Wednesday when they return to home ice. So, do it. Like get in that playoff spot. Come back feeling good. Hopefully your GM makes a trade, gives you some support, and I don't know, just go from there. It's something that, despite this team being in playoff races recently, they really haven't done that. They haven't defended a lead.
Yeah, we've always been in the hole, and this is a clear opportunity to, get out in front of everybody else. Let's see what happens then. We get a few games, we're protecting a playoff spot. Let's see how the team reacts then, and hopefully they, gain some confidence and keep it going rather than just being this mid team that gets to 500 every week.
Let's jump to the goaltending situation. So the week starts off, right? I think it was, or it might have been Tuesday morning. In any case, Devon Levi predictably getting sent back down to the Rochester Americans. And, we'll talk about the Amerks in a bit, kind of highlight what he did the other night. But once again, for the second season in a row, UPL has taken over the crease. And he is starting to heat up for the month of November. In his last 6 games, he's 4-1, 935 save percentage, and a 7.36 goals saved above expected. If you take out that Montreal game that he should not have been playing in, that knocked him down, I think, a full 2 goals below expected. So he would be in the nines right now for the month. He's heating up, and if this team, if they're flawed, they're a flawed team, and like I said, what I talked a lot about last episode, even if they make a trade now, they're still a ways away from being a really, really good hockey team. But if you get the UPL of last season, like I think this team is better than last year's. I think this team's definitely better than last year's team, and I think it's definitely playing, or it's getting more juice out of different pieces of the roster that last year's team wouldn't. Like, if you can recreate last year's goaltending situation with a mix of this year's team and, boost the offense a little bit with a trade here, like, you're in business. It really doesn't take, I shouldn't say it shouldn't take that much, but if you get UPL, then the foundation is there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as, I love Levi and most of Sabres fan base loves Levi. This is what you want at the end of the day. You want one goalie who is just getting hot and winning games for you, and UPL's proven he can do that. So, it was the right move to send Levi down, and hopefully UPL keeps this up. I mean, he didn't make any actually, he made some crazy saves last night. I mean, he only faced, I think, like 20 shots. Like, it wasn't too many, but he kept us in that game. I mean, there was the one save, I think, like in the first period where his toe saved it. Like, he took over that game pretty much. And, he needs to keep that up if this team wants to continue like this. I mean, look at the Senators right now. They also signed a goalie to an extension, and it's not going too well for them. We just signed a goalie to an extension, and he's playing well. There's not much better you can ask out of UPL right now.
Yeah, Sens fans are learning that the uh, the Sabres Linus Allmark was, I think, a bit overrated. He always had he always had a higher save percentage than his goal save above expected, which is always a very dangerous combo and very misleading, especially considering he did play on bad Sabres teams. But yeah, he's having a tough start to the year.
Well, it's like we predicted. Any goalie is going to look better in the Bruins system
It's
when
true,
they're
but
one of the best defensive systems.
I'll give them last year was not like that was not the case. Obviously, 2 years ago it was when they had the best season in regular season in NHL history, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. But last year there was the Bruins were not great defensively. I think the Sens had like better defensive metrics. So I think it just maybe it is an environment thing, but either way it not going well. And yeah, he did just sign a 4-year extension worth what was it, 8 point? It's whatever Swayman's making. So yeah,
Goalies just go there to die, I guess.
they are voodoo. Yes, they do go there to die. Jumping back to Luukkonen though, Luukkonen and Levi, it's gonna be. We're probably gonna talk about it as the years go along here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like the dream scenario was the Allmark and the Swayman type of duo here. And I think, maybe that's still a possibility because like I mentioned, Levi has been on record as saying he didn't realize how hard it was to prepare yourself for long stretches between games as a backup goaltender because he's never had to do it. He's always been the starting goalie as far back as his junior days. That said, you have two goalies here that are clearly better when they're getting the volume starts. Luukkonen's best stretches of his career have been when he's getting the share of starts for the Sabres crease. And Levi, I think, as we've seen, his best stretches as an NHL goaltender, the 7-game stint he had 2 years ago, or just obviously his time at Northeastern, and then for the Amerks when he's getting the bulk of starts, you know, that's when he shines. And I think just for now, it's just not compatible. And now that you have James Reimer back, you had to make the call to send Levi down to Rochester. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. I mean, look, he came in and was kind of sold on this idea that he was different from every other goalie. I mean, Jesus, we were talking about last June, July, August that this guy was gonna like the team wanted him to start 50 to 60 games as a 21-year-old, which was just never gonna happen. It just was not. You're seeing now he's like any other goalie prospect. Look at Dustin Wolf has been he might be the Calder favorite right now, and he's been up and down to start his NHL career. Last season he was called up and down, and I don't even think the numbers were good. But now he's settled in. I think he's the starter over Vladar in Calgary, and it's working out. And obviously, I use Wolf as the example because he's another small goalie. So I think with Levi, I'm personally not deterred one bit by any of the struggles he's had. It's just he just needs more time in the AHL, and even then, it's just not. He's in key development years, and being a backup is worse for his development when he could just play for the Amerks.
Yeah, I mean, goalie development paths are never linear. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. You could burst on the scene, but usually most of the time it takes a lot longer. I mean, it took Allmark some time to get in here. It took UPL some time to, you know, UPL was in the ECHL the one year, I believe. I think he was sent down from the
It
Amerks.
wasn't even good. I
Yeah,
mean, it was the double hip surgeries, I think, but still, like
yeah.
we were, there was really no track record. This is why Christian and I, in particular, always doubted the guy. That just
Yep.
the resume after his year in Sudbury just wasn't there. But willy nilly, he got healthy and improved, and now he's the Sabres starting goalie. So, and one of the better goalies in the NHL. So, yeah, it is what it is, and especially a guy like Levi, he has things to figure out. It's not like he's a Shesterkin or a Sorokin. He's like a Saros and he's like a Dustin Wolf. Like he just needs a little bit. I think the rebound control definitely needs work. But we've known that since he got here. So, like I said, not deterred by it whatsoever. It just kind of is what it is, and hopefully James Reimer can be a better option, and hopefully we're not where we were last year, like in February when everybody was like, Levi is lighting it up in Rochester, call him back up. And the organization ended up doing so. I just don't think just stick to him in Rochester unless James Reimer is really really bad and it's costing them. Just keep him down there. Just ride it out for the full season.
I agree. Just make a decision. It's not good for anybody's development path to be brought up and down, having to take the trip down the 90. Like it's not good for anybody's path. So yeah, I mean like you said, he's got things working on his rebound control. I think he's over aggressive a lot. And I think he does that because, he's a smaller goalie, but I think he needs to pick and choose his times because he's out of position a lot. Even the Amerks, he just had a really good game with the Amerks, and we're going to talk about it, but he had one like really big save, and it was a great save, but he was like out of the net for it. Like he was on this like side of the net basically. So like he's got stuff to work on, and they just need to make the decision. Like I was wrong about that. I said he should stay up, but you know, let him cook down there, let him dominate, and it's an unfortunate conversation that even I was thinking about bringing it up during this pod that maybe Levi and UPL just aren't compatible. It's going to be a conversation, like you said, for years to come. But it'll be interesting to see because I think they're going to have to make a decision on one of them at some point because it doesn't seem like either of them will thrive as a backup. But we'll see. I mean, Levi, who knows? He's still young. He could get some maturing and he could, fall into that role a little better. But time will tell. But at this moment in time, UPL's been awesome. So keep going with them.
How good has Jason Zucker been for this team?
Oh my God. He's been he's been a revelation, especially the power play. I mean, out of our 11 goals scored, on our power play. He has 3 goals and 3 assists. Like over half of the goals he is contributing to. He's been, you know, think about he I don't think he was even on the power no, he was on the second power play to start the year. I mean, he obviously wasn't on the first unit. Pretty much right when they brought him up, that's when we started scoring. And now we've scored in I don't know how many straight games, but
Was it 10 of, I think 10 of 11?
yeah, I thought it was like 10 or something.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously like the power play's not clicking. Like
Yeah, it
it's
still
not
didn't look the
it's
best
still
last
the
night.
Sabres power play. It's just more like positive shooting regression. Like they're just getting their luck is finally on their side. But I also think like having a guy like Zucker, like I feel like he just knows where to be out there. And I think, even though Paterka is like not the best power play player, I sort of feel like, you put your best players on the ice, something's going to work eventually, and you're going to have stretches like this. It just hopefully is somewhat more sustainable and hopefully it can continue to trend up. Like I still think it's trending upward. It's just like this isn't what we saw in game 1 through like 5. Like that was just a travesty. They couldn't get anything going. Now it's more like it's kind of reminiscent of the last few years power plays, but it's I still think it's better. So it still needs work, but Jason Zucker has been a revelation, and he's just been great all year. I mean, he really has. Everybody said it was a $5 million for his contract this season, like clear overpayment. He's kind of playing up to the value right now. Like I don't even like he really is.
Yeah, and I think what hasn't really been talked about that much is, I mean, he is a veteran on this team, and I think he's shown to be a clear leader. I mean, you could see, if you look at him on the bench, he's usually talking to his younger players that he's playing with. Like I believe it was Paul Hamilton on WGR, said today that after every shift, he was talking to Kulik, like reviewing what was going on, what he might have missed. Like, I think he's gonna be a key part in some of these player developments, especially maybe if Kulik finds a spot for himself and he keeps playing with Zucker. Like I think you're going to keep seeing, his leadership abilities thrive, and that's probably part of the reason why the power play's been good too. He probably was able to speak up and tell them what an actual good power play does, not what the Sabres power play does.
In a league that has coached any personality out of its players with its own media training, man, there's few guys in the league that love to celebrate goals as much as Jason Zucker. That dude is the happiest guy on the ice when he scores a goal.
Yeah.
It's really a joy to watch. So positive stuff on that front. Like we said, there's still I don't want to drown. We had so much negativity last episode. I don't really want to focus too much on some of the more down parts of last game. I suppose I don't want to really talk about like the Cousins line. I don't think was great. Sam Lafferty in the top 6. That was a choice. It's not worth it. Just take.
Jokiharju.
Oh, okay. We are going to talk about. I almost didn't bring him up, dude. What? There were like 5 or 6 times this past during the game where I'm just like, what? What are you doing, dude? He almost scored on UPL at one point. Like he shot the puck,
I think
like
twice, but
he just
yeah.
turned around at like the bottom of the circle and just ripped it at his glove.
Yeah, he did not have a pleasant return to the lineup, and
And the delay of game penalty, man. Like,
yeah.
oh my god, I can't believe he saw the ice after that.
hmm I can't imagine he's going to be in the lineup these next 2 games. Like I would be surprised. And the worst part of him returning to the lineup, it's not even. I mean, of course, it's that he played bad, but why is he with Owen Power? We know that pair doesn't work. We know that pair hasn't worked for 2 years now. Why bring that back? I
I
know I'm
don't know.
preaching the choir with you. I know you hate that pair.
No, it's not even that I hate it. It's just objectively bad. It just
Oh,
hurts the team. It's Power's worst. It's funny. Back in 2022, before Power even signed his ELC, I remember there was talk. Kevin Adams was looking for a veteran partner for him. Dude, it's been 2 seasons and a half later. We still haven't found it, and we're still shuffling through Jacob Bryson and Henri Jokiharju. It's bad. It's one of the reasons I keep advocating for another trade to the defense, just to try something else there, because I can't get on Lindy too much because he doesn't. It's either Jokiharju or it's Jacob Bryson.
Or move Dennis Gilbert up there. I mean, why not try it?
Yeah, Power could use a little sandpaper on his pair, I'm sure. But it's either those two, and maybe you could move Clifton up for like a game, but I wouldn't really mess with what's working. He's killing his third pair of minutes. I just they just don't have flexibility there, and Samuelson's a guy that Powers actually worked well with in short stints, but obviously that's not an option right now. So I don't know. You can't put those two together. It was terrible. Like you can't even. It was so noticeably bad from the other two pairs, especially when Dahlin and Byram were gangbusters all night.
hmm Yeah, it's doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. It's just insanity. It's the definition of insanity. They keep trying the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and it's not going to happen. In fact, it's it's like getting worse. I mean, last night was probably one of the worst games that pair's ever had.
It's up there. It is up there. So hopefully that changes before next game.
You could count this as both a negative and a positive. I mean, we had 5 penalties. We had three in 12 minutes in the second period, but at the same time, so we killed the penalties. We killed 5 penalties. That's 10 minutes of the game. That's a sixth of the game. Do you know how many shots the Kings had on all those power plays combined?
Was not a lot.
Four. They had 4 shots through 10 minutes of power play. So you got to give a little. The penalty kill honestly has not been that good recently, but I think you got to give them a little kudos last night. I mean, that's insane. I'm not even gonna say the penalty kill like was dominating last night, but just leave them to 4 shots is it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would also say the Kings had a bad night when it came to
Yeah.
hitting the friggin' net. I mean, we haven't even brought up the final 2 minutes of the game. I don't know how. I really don't know how the Sabres came away winning this game in
No.
regulation. I mean,
No.
but Byfield had one on the doorstep. He got tied up at the very last second, and then obviously the who was that? Kopitar fed it
I think it was
to
Kempe.
Kempe. I think it was Adrian Kempe, and he just sky. Like it was a wide open net, and he just
Yeah.
skied it, and that was the game right there. So, yeah, the penalty kill, big bounce back game. They needed that. Um, it just fortunes did it did go their way. I'm gonna acknowledge that much, but you take your 2 points and you run. Moving on here, we hinted, obviously, we discussed a lot of it. Devon Levi back with the Amerks last night, and that being Wednesday night, was his first start of the season for the Americans, and he would save 26 of 27 in a 2-1 overtime win. And as JP highlighted, he did have one flashy save coming across on a 2-on-1.
Did you see the tweet by Amerks PR about some of his numbers?
I read it, I skimmed it, I couldn't like retell it. It was
It
stupid good.
it's insane how good he's truly been with the Amerks, and the fact that he hasn't really been able to, get his footing in the NHL. But the Amerks PR right after the game, they tweeted, Devon Levi, who finished last season tied for fourth among rookie netminders with a 927 save percentage, has held the opposition to three or fewer goals in all but four of his 27 appearances with Rochester. And in those games, he's 17, 2, and 4. I mean, those are just ridiculous numbers on a team that, quite frankly, often gets shelled. I mean, especially last year they were getting shelled, and this year, I mean, they got another young team. Like they're not. This isn't a defensive team where he's just facing 20 shots a night. Like he is standing on his head down there.
Yeah, he just hopefully one day it transitions over, but like it's not like he's stumbled at any point in the AHL. I mean, he just anytime he's down there, he runs the show. I mean, like you said, he last season he had all those starts and the playoff performances he had, that 60 save performance he had in the playoffs. He just it's just normal stuff for him. It really is. It's just work up that mountain slowly is what I just accept it. This is the second time this has happened. Just slow play it.
Yeah, and that's why at the end of the day, I don't think anybody should be worried about him because look at what he's doing in the AHL. One level lower, he's dominating. So eventually it will convert to the NHL. And he's still young, so
That overtime winner would go to Lucas Rusek, and it would put the Rochester Americans currently at 8-5-2, 18 points on the season, currently putting them fourth place in the North Division. They beat the Laval Rocket in overtime, and they currently sit first in the North Division. So that was a big, big win to get that extra point. Looks as if it is going to be quite the fight in the North because every team. Oh my! Listen to this. So the Laval Rocket are in first, 12-2-1. Marlies are 9-1-2. Cleveland Monsters are 10-4. Rochester's 8-5-2. Oh, wait, that's right. They do a shootout loss as well. So, okay, so Laval's 12-2-1-0. Toronto's 9-1-2-2. Cleveland's 10-4-0-1. Rochester's 8-5-2-0. Syracuse is 7-5-1-1. Belleville is 6-2-0-4. And then listen to this. Utica is 0-10-1-2.
oh my goodness.
That's brutal. That's
That's
bad.
wow. That's
I,
historic. That's got to be one of the worst starts ever to the AHL. That's
I,
crazy.
I still thought like New Jersey had like a decent crop of players. I mean, Seamus Casey they sent back down. I guess I don't know who else is really with them right now, but yeah, that's not a great start.
Now, is Tage's brother still there?
I don't think so. I think he signed somewhere else this offseason.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Especially you're reading off a bunch of those top teams. Like, it sounds like the North is pretty competitive, other than Utica.
Yep. Yep.
We didn't even bring up, the other Amerks talking point. Isak Rosén was called up to the Sabres this week, and he joined them on the West Coast trip. Um, but he didn't even play. So I don't know. Like, I'll bring this back to the Sabres talk a little. They put Sam Lafferty on the second line over the AHL, I don't know where he left off, but he was one of the top point scorers in the league, and he led the Amerks in points. And you got Sam Lafferty playing on the second line over him.
Yep. Dylan Cousins finally got a boat anchor off his line, and it was followed up with an actual anvil. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't know which player would be worse for him overall right now. But yeah, I think. I mean, now that they won, maybe they don't change anything. I mean, maybe my memory's jogged, but I feel like practice because they practiced on because they practiced on Tuesday, and I could have sworn that Lafferty was looking like the scratch. Then they
Well,
changed lines in the morning on Wednesday.
Tucked in practice. So Rosane was filled in on the top line. So it was kind of obvious if Tuck was going to play that Rosane was going to be the scratch. But you might be right about Lafferty. I don't recall the second line, but I know Rosane was filling in on the top line for Tuck.
Let me see. Let me scroll back in some tweets here. Yeah, because oh, okay. So here's what's interesting for tomorrow. Well, I guess tonight. And who they play first? Anaheim first. They play the Ducks tomorrow at 10. Okay, so that's why. Because Thompson practiced on Tuesday. So Kulik was where Lafferty was, and then McLeod was the third line center, and Lafferty was looking to be the scratch. So I do wonder if the lines will be Paterka, Thompson, Tuck, Benson, Cousins, Kulik, Zucker, McLeod, Quinn, Malmsteen, Krebs, Aube, Kubel. Like I think that's your best lineup of the season. Just looking at it right now, I guess other than Jordan Greenway being out, I hope that's what they go with.
Yeah, I mean, I know they said it's not guaranteed that Tage will be back for the Anaheim game, but they pretty much all but said he will play against the Sharks. So I guess we'll see if he plays tomorrow night. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the lines are. I did find it interesting that they actually put Kulik at center, especially like centering Zucker um
Quinn.
and Quinn. Yeah, forgot they brought Quinn down there, but I mean, it shows that they got some confidence in Kulik. I didn't think he looked out of place. That line had some chances. So
No, I thought he was decent.
yeah,
I don't know. I still think he projects as a winger in the NHL, but at least he
Hmm.
can say he's at least they can say he's done it. He's played a game at center, and it's an option for them in the future.
Yeah. The one thing I don't understand about these lines, and then calling Roseanne up is, down in with the Amerks, Roseanne and Kulik have had such chemistry together. They've had a lot of success together, especially, I mean, most of the highlights you see with them are on the power play. Their chemistry on the power play is unreal. I don't really understand not trying to put them together um, on the same line. I feel like you should at least try that. Roseanne's been awesome this year with the Amerks. Kulik, in his 4 games down there was the best player on their team. I don't understand why they wouldn't try it. I don't know. I forget if we brought this up last pod or if this is just something we talked about, but just try it. Why not try it? I mean, we need to spark some offense on this team. Why don't you put them with Cousins? Like I know it's two more young guys with him, and we talked about last
Kind of
pod,
goes
and
against everything we were
yeah,
talking about last episode.
it does. But at the same time, like these guys have chemistry together. They're literally each other's best friends. Like let's try something with that. I just feel like before you bring up Roseanne, he plays 1 game on this West Coast trip, and then you send him back down. Give him a fighting chance this time instead of just putting him in the fourth line like they did last time. Especially when obviously Quinn has not been good on a top six. Benson's been fine. Just try it. See if you could spark something with the second line with that. They've never had them paired together when they've been called up, at least for an extended time. So I don't understand why they wouldn't try that.
Yeah, if I could snap my fingers and have that happen, I probably would do that and just get Quinn out of the lineup for a game, but I just don't see it happening. And at this point, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think there's maybe an outside chance that we see something Saturday night just to keep the legs fresh on a West Coast swing. I think back to like, man, I think it was in the thick of the playoff race. Remember, Victor Olofsson was going through that horrible stretch, and Granato was scratching him. And then I think he randomly inserted him and like Hinostroza into the lineup, and Paterka was scratched, and everybody
Yeah.
was like, what the hell, man?" And it got blown out, but Olofsson also did
I
score in
was gonna
that
say I'm
game,
pretty sure he scored that game.
so
Only in
as
blowouts.
as he usually would. But I think Granato's his reasoning was, to get fresh legs on the second half of back to back, which makes sense. It just obviously in that example came at the expense of one of their better players, but maybe Ruff does something, especially if they look flat tomorrow. Like if they don't have Tage again and they can't generate anything against Anaheim, then maybe we see something more what's the word? Just more just an aggressive change in the lineup for Saturday night.
How is our old friend Victor Olofsson doing this season? I know we started off hot. I have no idea.
I think he died. I think he's currently on their IR. So we'll
Oh, is
probably
he
see
really?
we'll probably
Oh,
see him in May.
poor guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he only
there
played
we
like
go.
3 or 4 games and scored in like 2 of them. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's on their IR right now.
Gotcha. He's their long-term IR stash, I guess, this year.
Yep. Don't worry, Mark Stone is back on there.
Yes, he is. He's home.
He is home. With all that out of the way, why don't we jump into some NHL news, starting with by far the biggest headline. Jim Montgomery is out of Boston. He has been fired, replaced by Joe Sacco as the interim head coach. He's got to, I don't know the actual stats on this. This has got to be like the biggest, not the biggest, but like one of the best coaching records, winning percentages for a team to get fired. I mean, it has to be up there. He guy had a 715 winning percentage for the team.
I mean, those are stupid numbers. I mean, he literally had the best regular season ever in the history of the sport, and he's fired 2 years later. Like it's it, it's unbelievable, actually. Like it's when you say that out loud, it just sounds ridiculous. A coach this good was fired. I mean, after a bad start to a season, not even like it's not even like they're in last place in the division. They're still, aren't they still above us? Like I know for Boston Bruins standards,
I
it's
think
not
they're.
good.
I think. I think they're currently winning right now. I guess I can check because I think they were also 500.
Yeah. Don't
So
get like I said, I know it's not Boston standards. I mean, we're Red Sox fans. We know how those fans are, but it's not even like they were playing like worse in the league. They were still in the race and they fire their one of the better coaches in the league, to be honest.
do you think it's a good or bad thing that they have standards like that?
Um, I I will say it's good, but you see with some of those markets that sometimes they pull the trigger too early. And I personally I think that's what they did here. I mean, look, that their roster is not that good. Like I think they put he's the scapegoat right now. It feels like their roster's not that good. He's a scapegoat. But I mean, I'm sure you're gonna bring up your tweet, but it is nice having standards as an organization.
No, no. I think I'm not going to bring up I mean, I guess I'll bring it up
Yeah,
now.
you
But
gotta bring it up.
so Jim Montgomery coached 90 less games for the Bruins than Don Granado did for the Sabres.
Yep.
Insane. It's just an insane stat.
Yep.
Look, they're two very different situations. They came in at very different times for each franchise, but I still think that's a telltale sign of one organization whose standards are just the lowest of the low and the others whose highest of the high. I don't think either example is perfect. I mean, look at what just happened to the Bruins. They fire Bruce Cassidy. Guy wins the Stanley Cup the next season with Vegas.
Yep.
So I think it's a bold move by Boston to do it again. I respect that. I respect that they stick by that principle of, you know, uh, holding themselves to the highest of levels. But also, I think in this example, like Don Sweeney's been through how many coaches now? I think two or three.
I think three.
Like when is it like Boston's such a freaking boys club? His job's not in jeopardy, but like it should be. He built a bad team. It's the one season where Swayman isn't having an insane year, and they don't have Allmark to kind of be a safety net, and the rest of the team is just like kind of spiraling from there. They're just an average hockey team, and I think
Yeah.
to fire the coach who had given you so much success, especially with basically probably a worse roster last year, maybe others aside from the goaltending. I don't know. It just maybe they needed to change. I don't watch the game to game of the Boston Bruins, but I don't know. For me, it just seems like this falls on Sweeney.
Yeah, I thought I saw um a tweet. It's not like Jim Montgomery. It's not like he wasn't doing anything. Like it's not like he was sticking with the same lines and same everything. I'm pretty sure he like took McAvoy off the top power play unit. I think he demoted Pasternak because he wasn't playing too good. I don't think Marchand's had as
Well, they yeah,
prominent
they
of a
were
role.
they were. I mean, you would see clips. It felt like every night he was going at it with Marchand, and he
Yeah,
was trying each and everything to like pull more out of the team.
yeah.
And I just didn't think he had the pieces this go around.
No, I mean their center spine sucks. Their
It's
center
terrible.
spine
It's so bad.
sucks.
I thought there was a chance Elias Lindholm would like recapture some of the Calgary magic. No, it hasn't happened. He scored tonight, and it was his first goal in a month. So like, and don't worry, you only got another 7 years of that contract. I don't know
Yeah.
how Zadorov has been. He's probably just doing his thing. But yeah, I mean, you got Lindholm. Poitras has been quiet, it feels like, this year. I don't know if he's been. No, I think he got sent down. So I don't know. I mean, for the longest time, their fourth line was like the best story of their team. It's not going well there. I just think Montgomery being the one fired is just. I think that's the wrong decision there.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see, a short-term little boost from firing your head coach, but I don't think it's gonna last. They don't got the guns. But I mean, it's a freaking Boston Bruins, so who knows? I mean,
Yeah,
they've been with
I'm not.
they've
I'm not calling them dead yet. I
yeah.
until I see it. I had to wait for the Penguins for it to happen too. I'm not calling them dead, especially in a year where the East is so weak. I do think it's interesting that they believe in this guy. I don't know much about Joe Sacco, but I would have expected them to go out. I mean, if there was a team to go out and get Joe Quenneville, like figured it'd be an original six organization like the Bruins, especially one run by a boys club.
Yeah, I guess so. I hope not, but I guess so. And there's already rumors about them like making a move. Like I keep seeing we should have traded for Trevor Zegras over the summer, or there's rumors linking Zegras to the Bruins now. Like it looks like they might make a desperation move this season. Like at least, you know, at least they're trying something. At least they're trying something. They're in the same spot as us. They fired their coach. I'm not saying we should do that, but they're talking about making trades. They made a big move. At least they're trying stuff.
I I suppose, but I also, I mean, look, we've said it many times before as Red Sox fans, like just seeing that from like a Buffalo point of view, like they just that market cannot handle adversity in the
No.
slightest form.
They were all of the, you know, all of the fans, the Red Sox accounts that I follow, or I'm just in that Twitter loop, they're all celebrating so much that they fired this coach who brought them their best season ever. I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand
yeah,
this.
it's crazy. It reminds me of Devils fans with Lindy. It's like, look, maybe it was time for a change, but like I just don't. I think especially a franchise like that is continually chosen like good coaching. You don't know how bad and how truly bad a coach can be until you're stuck with a bad coach. And Montgomery, I just maybe like we said, maybe he got into it with some players, but results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of Lindy, the three Jack Adams finalists of what was that the 21 season,
It was
22 season?
23 season. Montgomery, Lindy, and Dave Haxtell.
But the other two, they're both. I mean, Lindy's with a different team, and now Montgomery's not with someone. I mean,
Yeah,
that just shows coaching turnover. It's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's just another. Just goes to show how much the NHL is. It's not a what have you done for me. It's what are you doing for me now type of league, and it it just goes to show like you should never like I disagree with the Montgomery thing, but you really should never be too comfortable with a coach. If shit's going bad after, unless it's their first season, but like if it's like the second, and then it definitely if it's the third or beyond, it becomes like maybe we need to change things here. So,
It's kind of weird. I mean, of I guess of any of the sports, I'm thinking of the big four: NFL, MLB, and NBA. It's like I feel like hockey games are such, they could go either way any night. It's like it's hard to blame coaching as much in the NHL, I feel like. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but you could easily see if there's a bad manager in baseball. You could easily see if there's a bad coach in the NFL, but it's like hockey, it's like you get some bad puck luck and all of a sudden, your team's under 500. Like it's just I just find it hard to believe that there's so much coaching turnover in the NHL, and I just feel like at any given day, any team can beat anyone. I mean, just my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that, but it always baffles me how quickly people are to blame coaching.
yeah, it's like it's a league of parity, probably more than any other in major American
That's the word I was looking for.
sports. So, yeah, it's like you said, football, you can always tell when something's dysfunctional, but much bigger rosters, much more personalities to handle. Basketball, I feel like basketball is tough because it's so superstar dependent in that league
Yeah.
because it's the opposite. It's so small. But same thing, yeah, same thing with baseball. There's so much to operate. You can really tell when somebody's not cut out to manage so big of an operation. I think hockey's tough because so much of it is for GMs at least, so much of it is closed off. Like I feel like baseball, you hear so much. Baseball is so open with stuff, like how open people like the Juan Soto stuff. Like it's just it feels like you know everything. You know
Yep.
what they're thinking, what how negotiations are going. Hockey, it's tough from like a general manager's point of view, but with coaching, like I think we've gotten better numbers, with analytics and stuff, and it just feels like we have a firmer grasp on it. And oftentimes, I think Jay Fresh pointed to it. You know, what's the combination of a coach on the hot seat? It's middling 5v5 numbers, low shooting percentage, bad goaltending. And that's how you know that they're on the hot seat. Maybe it's their fault, maybe it's not. That's just a telltale sign that a change might be on the way. All right, moving on here. For a few games, it was becoming a story that, holy cow, Alex Ovechkin might have. He took the league lead in goals that night in Utah. And before we talk about what happened afterwards, I have to say, I was totally under the impression, given what his pace was, we're in Washington. The Sabres are in Washington on March 29th, I think.
March
Come on,
30th.
March 30th.
I might be there.
That was gonna be, yeah.
That I don't mean to be selfish, but I was looking forward. Maybe I could see Ovechkin's final, goal to break it or at least get close. And now I don't know. But no, you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, Sabres might be right around that time.
Yeah, I thought the way things were going that I was totally under the impression that he was going to be able to break it. He was going to be within arm's length in March. Now, maybe there's a chance he would have to get really hot coming off that injury. So
That's
obviously,
a tough injury too, though.
Alex Ovechkin collided. I think it was with Jamie McBain, or is it Jack McBain? I always forget. McBain on Utah, and accidental collision, but he went down awkwardly. Wasn't able to put much pressure on it. I think he skated on it, he just practiced a few strides, didn't feel right, got off the ice, and immediately everybody's holding their breath because it was looking like Ovechkin was going to beat Gretzky's record by, before April. He had 27 goals to go.
Yeah,
insane.
The one tweet I saw too is that he might do it in less games than Gretzky.
He might score as many goals in less games. That's just absurd. I didn't even know that was a possibility.
I don't think anybody really did until that tweet went viral.
Nuts. And fortunately, people thought there was a chance he was going to be out for the season. People were thinking ACL. It turned out to be, I think it was something MCL, maybe. But then we got something. Well, today he fractured a fibula, I think was the final diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So out 4 to 6 weeks, which stinks, but he still got a chance. If he gets hot, and especially given how good Washington is, maybe. He would have to get really hot, though.
Yeah. Hey, another milestone game against the Sabres. That's one everybody will remember. They'll remember Ovechkin scored his last goal against the Sabres. So against the Sabres team that broke the drought. How about that?
We didn't really talk about it last episode, but the Ryan Reaves hit to Darnell Nurse, which, first of all, that was bad. That was really, really bad.
Yep.
Reaves would end up getting 5 games for that. I think that puts him out till basically December.
I don't even know how you could defend that. I saw a ton of
some people try
fans.
to. A lot of people try, keep your head up, Nurse. It's dude, come on.
His head went sideways. That was ugly.
Yeah, that was really, really bad. And I actually am surprised. I kind of thought it would be more than 5, given it was Reaves, but I guess when
NHL.
Plus, every other night he's a scratch on a lot of nights. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny seeing the discourse around that and how the Leafs fans who were defending him be like, "Oh, that'll teach them to never, be careful on the ice when Ryan Reaves is out there. Oh, they're gonna miss his 0 points and being scratched every other night so much."
And yeah, they play him twice a season unless they meet in the Cup final. So
yeah,
stupid. Last funny thing I did want to throw in here at the end. So, given that the Nashville Predators are one of the worst teams in the league, I thought this was funny. Kevin Weeks thinks that the Nashville Predators would be the best fit for Sidney Crosby if a trade to occur.
Oh my God. Another Asian guy. What? That's actually crazy. I did not see that.
Yeah, I don't know the reasoning behind
I was
that
gonna say
one.
why.
Must be like I mean, he's definitely well, he's not from there. He's from freaking Montreal. That's weird. Especially when like the best fit is pretty clearly the Avalanche. It feels like everybody pegs him too. Um, I don't know, weird. Did you see the one night? It was just the way the Penguins worded it that the entire roster was questionable before a game,
Yeah, yeah, that
or
was
that
funny.
I think it was questionable.
Yeah, or no, they were all a game time decision. The
Yeah,
rest of the lineup was a game time decision.
everybody's like,
What the? Yeah,
are they gonna
yeah,
forfeit? Is this a
yeah.
possibility?
What the hell?
Funny, funny stuff for teams that are struggling.
Did you see the one team last night got a penalty before
It
the
was
game even
Nashville.
started?
It was
Oh,
Nashville.
it was Nashville.
So this was like a minute into the game. I didn't watch the sequence. I just kind of watched
Oh, I
the
know it was a
clip.
minute in.
It was like 40 seconds into the game. I didn't like I said, I didn't watch the clip of like the refs stop. I don't even know if the refs stopped the game. But yeah, they just the I think Stamkos was supposed to start and he's number 91, but instead Philip Forsberg started and he's number 9. So they got a penalty. That team is broken. I don't think I've
I
seen
mean,
that ever.
I honestly did not know that was a thing. I don't know if you did, but I've never seen that before. Like I feel like I've seen that with the Sabres. Like they announce the starting lineup, then oh, that's match up lines. Like I never thought that was a rule because teams usually match up lines. Like I don't know. That was a new thing for me.
Now that serves as a good reminder.
And now no one's gonna do that for another few years, so we're gonna forget about it.
So before we close down here, we do have some score updates. Ottawa, big loss tonight. Thanks, Jack. That would have tied them with the Sabres, and I think they have the tiebreaker over them had they won. Um, this was a big one. The Islanders lost in regulation with a minute left to the Red Wings, so they get no points out of that. That was big. The only bad result of the night is Boston did beat Utah, so now they are back in that second wild card spot. But they do have 2 more games played than the Sabres. So it's right there for the taking, man. It's just find a way to win these 2 games, please. Can we get above 500 once this season? You could be legitimately above 500 if you win the next 2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's right there.
It would
It's
be
right
nice,
there.
3-game win streak coming home for the Thanksgiving Eve game and the Black
Uh,
Friday game. Like, come on. It doesn't
and
get any better than those games.
with the gravy boats too. I mean, or the whatever they announced. Like,
It was gravy. Yeah, it was gravy boats or
yeah,
gravy.
it was it Zamboni? Was that maybe what it was?
I think so. A lot of people were excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if we're gonna be their first 10K fans, that's a pretty good thing to give away.
Budget's got to go to something. It
Yeah, I
is
guess
a
they got
yep.
extra money laying around, so
It is
why
a
not?
it is a gravy boat with kind of an illustration of a zamboni. Something to look forward to. They also announced something surrounding a Lindy Ruff bobblehead. I didn't really read
Yeah,
up
I
on
saw that
that.
too.
3-game ticket pack.
Did you see there was, I think, an interview with whoever's the new upper management for the Sabres? You know what I'm talking about?
Pequelli?
Uh yeah, there's something about improving the area around
I did
the
see that.
arena.
Yeah, I did see
I
that.
didn't look into it much, but it was just something to note. I think they're gonna do stuff with the Cobblestone district and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it would make sense to make that more of a district. Like if that FC Buffalo stuff is true and they like want to knock down that HSBC building, then it makes a lot of sense. Like you really could
Hmm.
make something out of that area.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Hey, it makes you think.
watch stuff sprout up faster there than the Bills Stadium.
Probably, probably. It makes you think. Did the Sabres start the fire? Here comes the conspiracy theories. Moving off of that, we forgot to do our predictions last episode. We did
We
not
did.
predict the West
We
Coast
did.
trip.
I would have predicted a Kings loss. So
I I think I would have predicted a Kings win. but I still would have predicted 2-1. So I guess I'm expecting a loss for one of these next two games.
Okay. I would have predicted 2-1.
Yeah.
We'll just say Christian predicted 0-3. Just screw him.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
what he gets for not being here.
he's probably going to be a -3 tonight in his beer league game. So
That's
it
true.
fits
That's
right
why
in.
folks, that's why he's missed. That's why he's not here.
One of the reasons. Yep.
He didn't. Yep. He had a commitment to this team, but he chose another. So
Yeah. Hey.
unreal. Whatever. Should have brought Jesse on just to spite him.
That would have been a good idea.
All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back on Sunday to hopefully, fingers crossed, recap 2 wins against the 2 remaining California teams. Either way, we'll be back to talk to you no matter how those games go. We're getting close to the end of November, and I did sort of promise last month we would do a Q&A each month, so maybe look forward towards the end, maybe next week for that. I don't know, maybe next Sunday.
Maybe a Black Friday special. How about that?
Black Friday special. Okay.
I mean, we're not going to be recording on Thanksgiving, so that is Thursday.
Maybe I planned on doing that. I don't know.
If you really want,
No, I'm not.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, other than that, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at the Sabre Report. Also on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky now. You can follow us at the Sabre Report on all those platforms. I am trying to keep things going on Blue Sky. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, you're seeing more and more people jump over these days, so hopefully you can build a little following there. I know there's not a ton of Sabres stuff over there, so go give us a follow if you wish. If you've listened to this on YouTube, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Huge win for the Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs this past week. And our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast just dropped their game recap. For that, it's a monster hour and 40 minute long episode where they go into details about the game, the playoff picture, the MVP race, which Josh Allen is, I believe, basically the front runner for now.
Yep, betting favorite.
So go give them a listen. They do awesome stuff for an awesome team. But other than that,
I believe they will be doing player grades on the bye week too, Sunday. So you can look out for that.
they're just gonna give everybody A's.
Probably, but I'm sure.
Wait.
Are
Are they gonna do the full 50-man roster?
No. They're doing.
I would respect it more if they did. I want to hear that. I want to know what they think of, like, I don't know, the most random guy on their roster. Like, I want to know what their grades are of, like, the practice squad guys that have gotten called up.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure Joe and Andreessen will get a grade. So, give a grade to everybody.
Because he gave him an interview. That's why.
Yeah. I think that just means they're not committed enough. I mean, they're not like us. We will grade every single player on the Sabres, and they just can't do it for
and
the
we'll
Bills.
lay into them, too. We'll be honest.
They can't keep up. So
it's not all sunshine and rainbows over here. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I'm sure Max is gonna give like a bad grade to James Cook or something like that. So there's gonna be a few bad grades, but for the most part,
I hope they fight about something. That'd be fun.
I'm sure.
If only MVS was still on the team and John could stick by his side, be like, no, he's an A.
I think John's banned from the pod. So it's too many no shows.
Too many. Yeah, I was just gonna say too many bad takes.
No, too many no shows.
Who am I one to talk? I said they'd go 9-8.
Yeah.
That's on me.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah,
but also
that is true. That's a good point.
That's what I do.
Whatever you say, the opposite usually happens.
It's what I say, and like if I actually believe it, that's when it's when I can't. I've tried like the reverse, doesn't work.
Yeah,
unless it's like Tage. If it's Tage, it works every time.
It's just destiny at this point. I mean, everything the back history of that. So
yeah, someday I'll tell it on here. If it hits 50, I'll do it.
I was gonna say, we even brought it up at all.
I told somebody this. I told somebody the story for the first time the other day. It honestly, it brings me joy every time somebody hasn't heard it. It's just because it's just the funniest thing ever.
It is crazy. We really haven't talked about it at all. Like I thought, did
No,
we not tweet it? Like I thought we did
I
something with it.
I
And I
said
know we had the bet.
I've
I know we had the
I've
bet.
posted the video, I think, on my personal account.
Then
So
maybe
if
that's where I've seen it.
for anybody listening, you can go to my Twitter and like find the video. But even then, you won't have any context attached. So
Yeah. Yeah.
someday,
Hit
I'll
50,
talk about it.
Tage. Stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy, hit 50, and then story will be out there.
Yeah. Why Jonah and Tage are best friends.
Yep. And how I made his whole career. With that, we will see you guys next time. Take care, and as always, go Sabres.
Go Sabres.